Ladies and gentlemen, we are here. This is your fantasy football semifinals. It's week 15. Let's take it over the top. Let's take it to that next level, gentlemen. That's Ian Hartitz. That's Sean Daigle.
You're peppy this morning.
I am Josh Norris. I'm trying to be enthusiastic.
You got a haircut?
These people have worked hard for 15 weeks
to get here.
Let's give them that little injection of that little extra, oomph to get them over the top.
Championship.
Exactly. That's what it's for. You're here for titles, not to play it safe. And again, we're here for you these next 45 minutes to help you answer your lineup questions, those conundrums, that second guessing you have. We can put these two brains together and make you have a better decision. You're going to do the fusion dance in a little bit.
I know what that is. He may not know what that is.
Completely over my head.
He probably thinks Dragon Ball Z is very beta of everyone else.
I like Dragon Ball Z. I'll go Super Saiyan.
Okay.
Okay, there you go.
There we go.
This is our final. Well, no.
That's all I got.
Next week will be our final form. This is our second form.
So again, this is Rotoworld Live. Thank you for joining us. Throughout the show, we'll be answering your questions, so be sure to get them in the Twitch chat, in the YouTube chat. That's my job, to get those, vocalize them so they answer them. And we'll also get to the core four games, the big four matchups of the weekend, preview those games. But we start off each week, because this is Rotoworld, with the blurbs of the week. Not too much news this week, but I did want to pinpoint a couple of names that have been pivotal for people's fantasy seasons who are kind of questionable today. We'll start off with Josh Jacobs, obviously the running back for the Oakland Raiders. Ian, the reason I want to ask this question, one, Josh Jacobs is playing despite saying he has a fractured shoulder since, I believe, week 7, and he's in a smash spot against Jacksonville Jaguars. Final game in this Raiders stadium, 6.5-point home favorites here. What's your confidence level? Because I'm sure some people out there are going to question it as well.
Very high. I think it needs to be in the lineups. And like you said, it's not like this shoulder injury happened 2 weeks ago and we have no idea how they're going to use him throughout it. It's unfortunate he wasn't able to play last week, but clearly they're comfortable giving him 20-plus touches in games while he's dealing with this injury. So not ideal. We wish he was 100%, but I think with, having the evidence of him playing through it, this is the last game in Oakland. Gruden's going to give him the ball. It's just a smash spot, man. Last 5 games for this Jaguars defense, they've allowed 216, 264, 219, 74, and 195 rushing yards. They're not just giving up a little bit of stuff on the ground.
They're awful.
They cannot stop anybody on the ground.
Daigle, same?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And remember that this Jacksonville defense, which was already struggling, just moved their 4th linebacker to injured reserve in the past 3 weeks. And now it's the emotions high send-off game for Oakland as well.
Yeah.
All signs lead to a complete disaster for Jacksonville.
If Ian gets a phone call during this game, he might go suit up at linebacker for the Jaguars. That was your
He's ready to go.
position, right?
Yeah, give me a shot.
I know. I hear you. All right, let's go over to the other blurb, and this is kind of a two-parter. First, let's look at this Denver Broncos-Kansas City Chiefs matchup. We know that Damian Williams is going to be out in this one, Daigle. It feels like every single week we talk about the Chiefs' backfield because we want attachment to Patrick Mahomes and this offense. So does this leave you any confidence in playing either Darwin Thompson, LaShawn McCoy, heck, even Spencer Ware?
I would imagine we just see the same situation as last week, which means we can't really start any of them, even in a heavy snow run-induced game. LaShawn McCoy led in carries, Spencer Ware led in snaps, Darwin Thompson led in targets. I imagine it's just the same thing again.
And the reason I ask this question is because the Chiefs are 11.5-point favorites here, a total of 28.5. But we're watching these videos on Twitter of how awful the conditions look. There's just snow everywhere. It's a blizzard. So, because this is one of our core 4 matchups. So, Ian, again, Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, you're still firing all those up.
Yeah, I want to play Snow Game Shady so bad. This guy's the
look
best
at
running
you.
back ever in these type of conditions, but backfield's too much of a mess, as John said. Spencer Ware came off the street and got a 40% snap rate in 7 opportunities last week. It was just too much. We have no idea what's going on in this backfield. You can't trust it.
But we're still playing Tyreek. We're still playing Travis Kelce.
Of course.
Okay, cool. As we approach the holidays, Rotoworld wants to give back to you. It's a season for giving, after all, and that's true for us here at Rotoworld. We're getting into the holiday spirit and want to give back to our loyal users. So we've launched the 12 days of Roto Holiday Giveaway. Every day for 12 days, we're promoting a premium product flash giveaway. Products, promo codes, and times will change each day, so you have to monitor our site for breaking news banners and our Twitter accounts for details each day. And each giveaway will only last 1 hour, so go and act fast. Again, just giving back to you a little bit, so thank you for tuning in. All right, let's get into people's questions. That's the most important part of the show. Let's start from the I am the FGC. Thanks for tuning in all year. Good morning, fellas. I have a major concern about Mahomes in this weather. Semifinals are here. Pivot to Ryan Fitzpatrick and Devontae Parker in New York, or Carr at the last home game, but minus Hunter Renfrow, or just stick it out with Mahomes?
Mahomes out of that group.
Sticking with Mahomes.
Okay.
I don't think there should be.
We already have a ton of Mahomes questions.
Yeah, people are. I understand everything's highlighted. It's the fantasy playoffs, but you're sticking with Mahomes.
If you want to put him down as like the number 5 quarterback this week instead of 1 or 2, I think that's reasonable.
So there are some names that might be ranked over him. So can we go through those
Yeah,
if you
of
don't
course.
mind? Okay, TCB 1134. Jimmy Garoppolo over Mahomes in the snow. Jimmy G is 11-point favorites at home against this awful Falcons defense.
No, it's Mahomes. In my mind, Mahomes didn't move. Like I was already starting Lamar, not Breeze, Lamar, Watson, and that's it over Mahomes.
Maybe
so you're asking.
Jameis?
So yeah, you're asking if you're starting Jameis or Breeze over him, and I don't think so.
So not the red hot Ryan Tannehill as Danny GG777.
Nah, the snow doesn't budge me with Mahomes over Tannehill.
Okay, sounds good.
If I had any sort of confidence that Tannehill is going to throw more than 25 passes, I'd be down to fire him up. But this offense still goes through Derrick Henry, even though he's not 100%.
On the opposite side of that, because the Broncos have some pieces that are startable as well, Aaron Loveland asks, is Courtland Sutton worth starting with the bad weather and matchup against Kansas City's good secondary?
Yeah, I think you can. I mean, Courtland Sutton's one of these few guys where if you give him 5 or 6 targets, the nature of his targets are usually downfield, a lot of times in the red zone. So he's talented enough to make the most of them. Upside wide receiver, I'd say like a low end wide receiver 2, upside wide receiver 3. I mean, maybe you have better options. If someone's guaranteed 8-10 targets, give me that. But Sutton is like A.J. Brown, one of these few guys that can make the most out of limited targets.
That's the one I moved down a little bit. Does Drew Luck have any experience in the snow in the Midwest?
I mean, I'm sure he had played in it sometime while he was at Missouri.
It was already such a tough matchup on the perimeter against Kansas City.
Yeah.
The way they were going to attack, hopefully, would have been through Phillip Lindsay anyhow. So I just think Sutton, I had him, I believe, initially 20-21, so I moved him down to 25-26.
Sounds about right.
But that probably, this list isn't enough for me to not start Sutton. Like, it's going to be a case-by-case basis as we move along in the show.
Let's take a moment just to respect and call out Courtland Sutton a little bit, because, I mean, he is producing with Joe Flacco, Brandon Allen, and obviously Drew Luck, who's performed well the last 2 weeks, but at a super high level this year. So Courtland Sutton's dominated.
Very DeAndre Hopkins-esque whenever he had to play with the sloths he had to play. The names don't even come to mind.
We're seeing Galladay do a little bit of that this year as well.
Case Keenum was one of those quarterbacks.
Yeah.
All right. M. Leherher, would you start at flex Joe Mixon or Devontae Parker? This has been a very pro Devontae Parker set all year, minus me. I jumped on board a couple weeks ago, very late, against the Philadelphia Eagles. He is playing today. He just received a contract extension. So what do we think about Devontae Parker today?
I think I'm still going Mixon in this group. I mean, since their bye, Mixon's had 32, 16, 18, 23, and 26 touches. Like, that's just, I understand the matchup is awful, but that, when we're talking a guy getting RB1 workload versus a very good wide receiver that's been playing well, just give me the RB1 workload.
And a very difficult matchup against this New England Patriots defense, and Purple Rain 66 has an interesting point, and it is a cliche, but that Bill Belichick often takes away the other team's best player, and in this case, that would be Joe Mixon.
How'd that work against? I'm not comparing him to Lamar Jackson, but it's.
I think for me, I'm just taking the matchup with Parker, honestly. Especially with Auden Tate in the lineup, there are just so few options Bengals even have left. I don't see them posing a threat. The only threat would be the Bengals hanging around, which would favor Joe Mixon just because the Patriots' offense is so bad. But I love the matchup for the Dolphins today. No Janoris Jenkins, who didn't get cut for performance reasons. He was PFF's number 3 corner. I can imagine that Parker bullies. They're starting 4 rookies, the Giants are today. Like, it's a mess.
People are freaking out about this weather. Just tons of questions. So I need to keep bringing them up because they want to know. Chris the Beast, Tyreek Hill or Cole Beasley? I mean, you still go Tyreek Hill in that situation.
Yeah, it's not.
Ian is offended by these.
You really want to sit Tyreek Hill on your bench in the fantasy
It's an important week.
semifinals?
It's
I'm
the
mad you
fantasy
asked
semifinals.
this.
No,
I'm
I
mad
have
you
to ask
gave
these.
him a platform.
No. Ian. Look, I am just doing my job. It's almost like a teleprompter. Whatever is in the monitor, I have to read. And we have to help these people that have stuck with us, rode with us all year long.
It's fair,
I'm offended by that question.
But remember, it's a lot more snow than the instance I'm about to bring up. I understand, but remember, Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes, all these guys went into the frozen tundra against the Patriots in a conference championship game just last year, and they walked up and down the field. Like, of course you're not worried about it. Come on.
I'll give you a little break, Ian. I'll give you a little bit of break.
Fine.
Let's go to the first Core 4 matchup. That is the Houston Texans at the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee has 3-point favorites at home, a 50 total in this game. Obviously, both teams are 8-5. Both teams meet each other twice in the final 3 weeks of the season. Tennessee kind of has to win both to win the division because they also have the Saints sandwiched in there as well. Let's start off with this Texans offense. Daigle, I'll turn to you. The Texans offense, and as we know, the graphic's going to pop up, has run super hot and cold. Some good weeks, some bad weeks. Some good weeks, some bad weeks. So, Daigle, which Texans offense do we get this week? And is Will Fuller kind of the piece in there that matters the most?
I think Will Fuller is the piece that matters. And they healthy scratch Kiki QT, which they did the same thing on Thursday night against the Colts. And that's the game that Will Fuller initially returned from the hamstring injury and just blew up for over 100 yards and a touchdown. I would imagine with Adoree Jackson out, the Titans' #1 corner, the Texans can walk down the field with ease in this matchup. And the Titans as well. I believe the Titans can respond with ease as well. That's why I like the total. I like every piece involved, and I think it's going to be a very explosive day for the Texans.
Titans secondary is so banged up. It's not just Adoree. I mean, they had to put Malcolm Butler on IR about a month ago. LaShawn Sims, who's already the backup cornerback, he's banged up. They're starting Tremaine Brock, who the Cardinals cut in Week 13. Like, this is just, for a team that's been playing so well, like, it's funny to see them have like this big of a liability just as a kind of a positional unit overall. But my one concern with Fuller is that he did have the blow-up game. He's had his 2 blow-up games this year. Other than that, though, it just seems like a lot of weeks you're hoping he can make the most of those 4 to 6 targets because him and Stills are getting those downfield looks.
Right.
Last 2 weeks, we've even seen Duke Johnson getting more involved underneath. It's just a crowded offense. Fells, Akins are kind of getting their targets too. So I do like Fuller, out of those pieces to have the week, but even then, where do you have him ranked? Like mid-20s?
Yeah, I was about to say, Fuller, we can go, definitely is touch and go as we move along here, name-by-name basis, because I'm talking the offense as a whole. Fuller adds that presence.
For sure.
Even that presence, obviously. Watson, 9 games with Fuller, 8.5 yards per attempt. The 4 games without him, 6.9 yards per attempt.
Right.
But Fuller, we have him ranked. You kind of know what it is, right? Like, he could easily have a 4 for 33 outing, but he's a boomer-bust wide receiver, too. So I don't even know. I mean, we're going to try. Obviously, it's why we're here. I don't think we can even answer the question of whether to sit Fuller or not. You have to ask yourself, what are you willing to stomach? How risk-averse do you want to be?
And how much of a ceiling do you want to shoot for?
Yeah,
especially in these one-week seasons that we're playing right now.
That's each and every person, just what you're willing to take on.
And we talk about it all the time on the Rotoworld Football Podcast, but this Texans team, unless they hit the big play, they're not going to win. Right? And last week was a perfect example. I mean, they were basically down 38-3 before any production on offense. And Deshaun Watson only had 3 completions of over 10 yards on 13 attempts and also 2 picks in that scenario. So Will Fuller obviously wasn't playing. He is this week. All right, let's turn to the Tennessee team because, guys, it seems like every single year when we hit the fantasy playoffs, there is one player that was non-existent in the preseason at the first part of the regular season who now might anchor championship teams. Ian, that could be Ryan Tannehill this year, which is just awesome.
Tannehill.
I was a carrying card member of the Ryan Tannehill fan club back in 2012, and I think that was a lifetime membership, so I'm good right now.
When I was going to Aggie games in college, he was obviously the quarterback. So he was the receiver, actually.
Yeah. So is he worth the start, Ian, in your fantasy semifinals? Because look at that. First in yards per attempt, 4th in completion percentage,
He has been
3rd in touchdowns. This is all since week 7.
Yeah, he's been amazing.
Playing like the best quarterback in the league. I mean, he's definitely a QB1 this week. I'm seeing him like Tannehill or Mahomes, Tannehill or Watson. I'm drawing the line like a QB5, QB6 for Tannehill just because it's volume. I mean, he's had 7 starts this season. In those games, he's attempted 29, 33, 39, 19, 18, 22, and 27 passes. Like last week was incredible, but how many times can he keep doing this on this little passes? Now, the matchup is great. The game total, if there was going to be another week where he could come through on, minimal volume, it could be this week. So that's why I'm saying, treat him as a QB1, but I just wouldn't expect this 300-plus yard, 3 touchdowns blow up necessarily.
Yeah, it is volume, but also, to play devil's advocate, he would receive more volume if he wasn't so uber efficient on what little volume he's getting.
That's fair.
Like the only reason he hasn't thrown more than 27 attempts over the last month is because
they're playing
he's
so well.
Because you don't need to throw attempts when every attempt goes for 30 yards, which obviously is not sustainable.
Yeah.
But the thing is, he is playing so well across the board in every spectrum of the game.
Real quick, we just had the Will Fuller conversation. Is A.J. Brown in the similar boat?
Yeah. You know, A.J. Brown, as we talked about on the pod on Monday, he's averaged 3.3 catches over the last 4 games. 3 catches, but still 87 yards.
Yep.
Has had a 2-touchdown game in between that span. Been the wide receiver 16 in that 4-game span. He's still someone I just want to go down with. You know, the volume's concerning, but I'm willing to die
All
with
aboard,
my man
baby.
behind me, and I want to die with A.J. Brown.
League high marks and yards per target. I mean, him and Mecole Hardman are like breaking the next gen stats, like yards after the catch kind of metrics. Yeah, get A.J. Brown out there, especially against the secondary.
Especially in those Herschel Walker shoulder pads that he's wearing, just looking like a beast.
Now,
Fun player. All right, all of you out there, give me my ISO. There we go. Week 16 is next week, right? Typically, we do this show, as you know, on Sundays, noon Eastern. Well, there are 3 games next Saturday during your fantasy football championship. So we thought, why not move Rotoworld Live to Saturday? Well, we're here Saturday, ahead of every single game on the weekend, ahead of every single game for your fantasy football championship. So remember that next week. We'll remind you throughout the week, but instead of a Sunday show next week, it'll be Saturday, noon Eastern, right here where you're finding us for the show. All right, let's move on to people's questions. This is a good one. M. Piers, all 6. Do I start Tyler Lockett? He also has Russell Wilson, so he's that Seattle stack against the Carolina Panthers, or A.J. Brown, who we just talked about. Because, I mean, this is a difficult one because there was a part in the season when Tyler Lockett, at least for 1 or 2 games, was getting a lot of volume, but he's not getting volume anymore. Like, he's non-existent in this passing offense, but it's a very good matchup and tied to Russell Wilson.
It's a very good matchup, but there is no reason why the Seahawks should be able to run the ball as much as they desire this week. I lean towards A.J. Brown just because I think that overall game, I think, sets up better for different pieces to go off. Like, Seahawks could put up 40 points. I'd be very – and Tyler Lockett could just have nothing to do with that. I don't see that happening with the Titans.
Yeah, we're not concerned about A.J. Brown as much as we're concerned about Tyler Lockett, in my opinion, which makes A.J. Brown the safer play, even on potentially lesser volume. But who knows if that's even the case, given Tyler Lockett's last month.
I have another Tyler Lockett question for you from Buck 3. Tyler Lockett or Deebo Samuel? Deebo Samuel's facing the Atlanta Falcons secondary without Desmond Trufant now. Now, he kind of is playing second fiddle to Emmanuel Sanders in some ways, but Tyler Lockett has morphed into this real wide receiver from a manufactured touch player, which he was earlier in the season.
So since they got Kittle back in Week 12, Kittle's had 18 targets, Manny Sanders had 16, and Deebo's had 14. So it is kind of like they're splitting it up between those 3 guys, but Deebo is well ahead of, Kendrick Bourne, these other running backs. So I do lean towards Deebo, I think. And I was all aboard the Tyler Lockett train the whole offseason up until like Week 10, but since they're buying, they're just not feeding him the ball. Maybe that changes. He's got the good matchup in the slot, probably against Ross Cockrell, but man, I think give me Deebo. Give me the better overall offense, I think.
Daigle, Buck 3 also asks, Jameis Winston or Kyler Murray?
It is Jameis Winston for me. I like Kyler a lot. I think that game actually sneakily shoots out, but I still think Jameis Winston is the safer play. He returned to throwing footballs on Friday. I know the thing on Thursday, him throwing tennis balls was a big gag, a good joke, but he's healthy. He's just fine. Remember, he threw for a career-high 456 yards despite suffering this injury mid-game last week. Like, he's just fine, and it is a terrific spot.
And we truly don't care about interceptions in fantasy football.
No,
I mean,
not.
they hurt. They take 2 points away, but they also force Jameis Winston to then throw the ball down the field. And he doesn't have Mike Evans, which can be big, but he also has Chris Godwin against one of the worst defenses in the NFL.
They're neck and neck, though. I think this is Kyler's coming out party. This since the Browns lost Myles Garrett, they've faced the Steelers again, the Bengals, and the Dolphins. And now Vernon's out, too. I don't think they're going to be able to pressure Kyler at all, and that's just a death sentence.
Wow. Okay, let's keep it moving. Let's go to T.Y. Hilton or Zach Pascal. That's from G. Gaber's channel. I mean,
we could just talk about the context of T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah, let's do that.
Even if he plays, this really sounds like, and I don't blame him, of course, like they're still competing. This sounds like he just wants to return. Like he is doing everything in his might to return on Monday night. And it's just not a situation you should trust whatsoever. Even if he's active, it's one you should be willing to miss out on completely if he gets 100 yards, just because the probability is that he's not going to. So I'm fine just leaving him on the bench and missing out any production.
And the thing with T.Y., it's not like he was just completely balling out every single week before, he got hurt in this. Like he had 5 touchdowns, I think it was 6 or 7 games. He was fine in the end zone a lot, but I think he only cleared 75 yards once this year. It's been a different T.Y. Hilton, which Jacoby Brissett under center. Still good, but I don't think he's someone you need to really break your lineup for.
Kumailin, need help, gentlemen. I need a running back and a flex. So 2 out of these 3 options. So really just sit one. Ronald Jones, Patrick Laird, John Brown, Kenyon Drake, and Danny Mendola. Also rolling with Kyler Murray or pick up Goff or Fitzmagic. Thank you. Well, to answer your last point, Kyler Murray is probably the play of that group. I mean, the names that pop out to me of the 2 that are pretty easy starts, I would go with Kenyon Drake because I think he's leading that backfield in touches no matter what, even if David Johnson scored that touchdown last week.
Okay.
And then I would lead with John Brown as well. Like, I understand, and we'll get to this game, that this is an awful matchup for Josh Allen. But if they are going to get anything going against the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's going to be through John Brown and Cole Beasley, and that's basically it.
We did see Smokey go wild on the secondary last year in a similar primetime game with Joe Flacco under center, so it's certainly possible. I hate saying this. I think you got to look at Patrick Laird. I know, Josh, don't play bad.
We're going to do the
players
Ian
on
face.
bad teams.
Such a good matchup.
Guys,
It's such
He's
a good
getting
matchup.
80% snaps. I'm not happy about it either.
19
but
touches, 80%
It's
of
a
the
great
snaps.
matchup.
Such a
He's
great
getting
matchup.
fed. And look, like Cole Beasley.
turn down my mic. He's not an NFL talent.
Cole Beasley is being used just
He's a
as much as
receiving
John
threat.
Brown recently.
Like, you know he's a good receiver. That's what he was in college as well.
Smokey's floor is gone. Like, it was fun while it lasted.
He's had such tough matchups to this point, and now he gets the Giants. Like, you have to go Laird. You have to go Laird.
Wow.
We've
All right.
come this far. We live in a simulation.
Let's go to the next Core 4 matchup. The Los Angeles Rams travel to the Dallas Cowboys, 48.5 total in this one. The Rams are 8-5 after I kind of put them 6 feet under a few weeks ago. They've changed their
Rightfully
offense
so, though.
a lot. And I think, yeah, it was rightful.
Yeah.
Because they were awful. And now, Daigle, we move into this matchup where the Rams offense has changed quite a bit in the last couple weeks. And I'll lay out a few facts here. Cooper Kupp played fewer snaps than Josh Reynolds. Cooper Kupp played fewer snaps than Brandon Cooks. We saw 2 tight end sets with Tyler Higbee and someone named Johnny Munt.
Yep.
So it's because this team has gone back to being run-oriented. So my question to you, Daigle, is a lot of people got here because of Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, so on and so forth. What's your confidence level in playing them in this new short-term iteration of what the Rams offense is?
I love the Rams offense today. That doesn't exactly trickle down to Cooper Kupp as much as it should, because 2 weeks ago now, the Rams went almost exclusively 11 personnel, 3 wide receiver sets. 1 week ago then, they changed it up, and that's what led to something called Johnny Munt playing 50 snaps and heavy personnel just getting Todd Gurley involved. I think no matter what, though, like, we can continue answering Cooper Kupp questions along as the show goes along, but no matter what, Robert Woods is one of the safest receivers. Has 18 more targets than Tyler Higbee in the past month. Has, I believe it's 27 more targets than Cooper Kupp in that span. Tyler Higbee, without Gerald Everett, has become an elite tight end that we should definitely look to against this poor linebacking core, who has missed the 3rd most tackles in the league. And then, as we know, it's going to also be Todd Gurley, who they have fed frequently the past month, even in blowouts against the Ravens and Cardinals. So either way, we can depend on 4 guys, Jared Goff included, whether Kupp's involved or not.
Anything to add, Ian?
I would just say don't sleep on this run game either. Like, I think Gurley is going to have himself a good game.
I do too.
273 rushing yards against his defense back in the divisional round. And don't forget, the big storyline after that game was how the Rams just knew what the Cowboys were going to be doing, slanting and all that. So hopefully they fix it up. But with that said, Cowboys have allowed over 100 rushing yards in 7 straight games, like you've said. I mean, we're seeing Jalen Smith get to the corner when the guy's already 10 yards downfield. It just hasn't been a good run defense all year. Now they're facing the offense that tore apart that run defense more so than anyone not that long ago.
And remember, in that playoff game, they did use 12 personnel and heavy personnel, which is what they used last week.
Yep.
Quickly, I am the 1 seed in the A-League, the prestigious A-League here at
Gonna ask
NBC
us a start sit
Sports
question?
HQ. Jared Cook or Tyler Higbee?
Tyler Higbee.
Oh, that's tough. I go Higbee.
I mean, I'm going to win no matter what. But
I'm going Higbee over Ian Thomas.
Even though,
Jared
Josh,
Cook,
you tell
OJ
people
Corey
Howard.
Griffin.
what's your team name, Josh?
Josh's team.
Is not that the most?
Put all my focus on the lineup and the drafting and the
No, it's about
acquisitions
you.
and not the team
It's
name.
not the players, it's
team
about
names
you.
are not worthwhile in fantasy football.
Cowboys
They're
have
just
also
not.
allowed 6th most receptions to tight ends. Like,
There we
it's
go.
such a good spot for Higbee.
Josh hates fun.
All right, let's go over to the Cowboys side of this because there were stretches of this season where we thought this Cowboys offense might be the best unit in the NFL. Dak Prescott playing at an MVP level, Amari Cooper winning in one-on-one situations, Michael Gallup being one of the best second receivers in football. That's kind of all gone away. recently, and Dak Prescott has struggled. Amari Cooper gets Jalen Ramsey today. Michael Gallup is still playing well. So, Ian, what do you think about those three, and maybe add on Zeke and even Randall Cobb in this situation against the Rams? It's a pretty good defense.
Cobb is, lower end wide receiver 3. I think the other 4 guys should be in most, if not all, starting lineups. So, maybe some guys have 2 really good quarterbacks to choose from, but don't sleep on how good this offense is, particularly when they're home. And that goes for Amari Cooper. Like, he has been nothing short of phenomenal every time he's played at Jerry World. He's only done it 1 time in 12 games playing at, AT&T. So awesome spot there. I know Jalen Ramsey is great, but with that said, Julio got 93 yards in his shadow coverage. DK Metcalf last week even went for 78. I think Cooper, just how good he is route running, he can give a more physical, bigger-bodied corner like Jalen, I think, more problems than your typical number 1 wide receiver. But with that said, Michael Gallup is not going up against Jalen Ramsey, so you got to love him in this spot. And he actually has 52 targets since the Cowboys Week 8 bye, and Cooper's only had 50. So especially in this recent stretch, it's been more of a 1A, 1B at wide receiver.
The only reason I lean like Tannehill and some of those guys over Dak Prescott is because there are question marks with the Cowboys offense. The last 3 games, I don't know where Dak has gone. I don't know where the offense went. Yes, he had 355 yards against the Bills, but remember, they were completely embarrassed. That game and the Bears game the following week, it was all garbage time because they just could not perform in the first 3 quarters. So sure, maybe Dak gets there again, but that's enough concerns for me to value guys I trust more than Dak Prescott and the Cowboys offense in this case. Having said that, that does not trickle down to Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup, especially Amari Cooper. You're starting him if you have him.
All right, let's move on to questions. Pocket nines. You guys talked about Patrick Laird. You love Patrick Laird. You think he's great at football.
Yep.
Patrick Laird or Raheem Mostert, half-point PPR.
Mostert.
I think Mostert's better at football, so that's where we can draw the line.
Well, and he's in a better situation. 11-point home favorites here. Mostert has forced Kyle Shanahan to basically name him the lead ball carrier. Now, that could change in a game.
Yes.
But going into this, we haven't had really that idea or that mindset of anyone in this 49ers backfield. Raheem Mostert's a great start.
I think game script is almost too good for the Niners that Mostert will play once again around 60% of the snaps.
Yeah.
But we'll probably see more Tevin Coleman and Breida today just because of a game that seems like they'll get behind to start despite missing 6 starters, I believe it is, in their defense.
John Brown is under 40 yards in 3 straight
Since we're on
games.
this Patrick Laird kick, Ian, boom, bang, bomb, and a flex, Darius Slayton or Patrick Laird, half-point PPR.
I go Laird.
Okay.
Slayton's
No
got the
comment
great
from me.
matchup, but oh my gosh.
No comment from me.
Start Darius Slayton over Laird?
So in a last spot
I'd run from that
half-point
question,
PPR, M. Carey 12, the guy who gets to sit in the seat gets to ask the questions.
Because to judge the answers.
Terry McLaurin, Will Fuller, or Justin Watson. Justin Watson, who is emerging as a possible starter in the Bucs, although we don't know. It could be Brashad Perryman. It could be Scotty Miller. And we talked about Will Fuller. We haven't talked at all about Terry McLaurin, who's had some major weeks this year.
Roasted this very secondary in week 1. 125 yards in the tutty, and he even had another potential 75-yarder. Keenum just missed him on. Obviously, can Haskins provide that? I don't know. We really haven't seen it for the most part. I go Will Fuller here, but according to Josh, we should only judge on talent and not workload. So it's, it's kind of up in the air.
I'm taking Fuller's. I'm willing to accept Fuller's floor over Terry McLaurin, although I do like the matchup with Terry McLaurin. For the Bucs situation as a whole, I truly believe that if anyone's telling you it's going to be this receiver, they're lying. Brashad Perryman will run the most routes in Evans' absence, but Watson has a chance to outperform him on fewer snaps. And where does Scotty Miller fit in? Because Scotty Miller is an Arians tenure guy. They drafted him. Whereas they were kind of just stuck with Justin Watson. So I think Justin Watson's better than all, but that doesn't mean it's the most production. So it's just a guessing game.
I'm wondering here, though, because we saw Perryman and Scotty already splitting snaps. Why not Watson just slide right into Evans' role?
I would love that.
Yeah.
I can't predict it, but I would love that.
It's up in the air, yeah. I'm kind of thinking that's what happens. We'll see.
You ask where we put Scotty Miller? Canton. That's where we put him. Canton. All right, we're falling a little bit behind. I'll take credit for that. So let's go over to the next Core 4 matchup. That's the Chicago Bears at the Green Bay Packers. The Bears are 7-6. The Packers, however, are 10-3. This has been a major line shift. It's open at 7.5 as the Packers as favorites. It's gone down to all the way to 4.5 or 4, depending on where you look. Let me look at my question. It's this. The Chicago offense has improved, let's say production-wise, over the last few weeks, and it's mainly dependent, Daigle, on who they've been playing, bottom-tier defenses. I throw the Packers in there as well as bottom-tier defenses. So are you trusting someone like Allen Robinson, David Montgomery today in your fantasy semifinals?
I am. Robinson has become matchup proof. I know he's hit a couple walls here and there, but especially in the past month, now that they're finally allowing Trubisky to scramble more, 7 rushing attempts in his last 3 games, it has opened up the door for both Anthony Miller and Allen Robinson to succeed. So I like both of them.
All right.
Montgomery, you know, he's always been a usage-based running back too.
Right.
He's not going to break tackles. He's going to run directly into his line, but that's fine. He's getting 20 carries, whatever.
Let's go to the Packers side of this, Ian. People drafted Aaron Rodgers highly. Make the case to start or sit him today because the Bears defense obviously isn't 2018 caliber, but in 2019 they've been solid enough, and Aaron Rodgers has not been solid enough.
Rodgers really bad last week. It's really tough for me to expect him to be that bad again in another game at Lambeau.
Wow.
I mean, same thing with Devontae Adams. I mean, I think it was just a down performance from the passing game last week, and yeah, I don't have too much to expect a better performance other than just we should, because we don't see Aaron Rodgers have back-to-back bad games at Lambeau. And last week we did see some, even though Jamal Williams continues to get a lot of reps from Aaron Jones, they really went out of their way to get him more involved in the passing game as their true number 2 receiver, like we've been asking them to do all season since Devontae got back. So I think at least usage-wise, they're on the right track. And if we see a better performance from Rodgers, he can beat anyone at home.
Yeah, I mentioned this in the podcast, but it's one of those situations where Rodgers just looks like he's trying to find perfection down the field. And that's tough when you basically have one real wide receiver on the team, Devontae Adams, and a whole bunch of role players after that. And so no one else is going to get open. And so when no one's open, he's just holding the football, throwing it away, trying to run for it, falling down for sacks. It's weird to watch Rodgers kind of questioning this much of his offense at this point in the season, because there were points we thought it was solved.
Yeah, I was also excited to watch Aaron Jones against this defense, but Akeem Hicks' return is kind of sneaky scary.
Yeah.
Because they were truly elite in the front 7 when Hicks was healthy earlier this year.
They're also getting Mukamara back, too.
Before we move on, Daigle, tell the people about DFS Toolkit.
DFS Toolkit is what Ian and I typically promote on Thursday afternoons on the DFS Rotoworld Building Block Show. We at least give you a sneak preview into what you could be using. Optimal lineups, the optimizer, projections, next man up. Even if you want to go in and tinker with custom projections because you don't believe the system, that's okay. You can go and edit them yourself and then spit out a projected lineup according to what you believe. So DFS Toolkit is at rotoworld.com/DFS, and I was told there's no more promo codes.
Nope. And before we move on, do want to remind you once again that our show next week is going to be on Saturday. Noon Eastern, Rotoworld Live. Twitch.tv/Rotoworld.
No Bobby V's on Friday.
Set an alarm right now. Set a reminder for yourself. All right, back to your questions. Let's sit one of these names. This is from Dr. Detroit 8. Will Fuller, D.D. Westbrook, or Michael Gallup in standard. Ian, who are you least confident in that group?
Standard's interesting.
Fuller, D.D.
And Gallup.
You can't play DD in standard.
I was about to say, that's the only problem. I'm very confident D.D. gets 5 catches, but that doesn't matter.
Right.
So
That's a good answer. Good answer. All right, let's go to Ben Leonard. Devontae Parker or Keenan Allen? You know, this Keenan Allen Chargers matchup is interesting because obviously Minnesota's corners have been absolutely awful this season. The spread's not very large. It's just 2.5 here. I think a lot of people expect the Chargers maybe to win outright, but we've seen Devontae Parker put up just monster weeks.
I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum, I think, from both of you. Or maybe Ian believes the Chargers win, correct? We had this talk on Thursday night together.
no, I like the Vikings.
Okay.
I think Minnesota wins by a touchdown.
I like the Vikings a lot too. Having said that, it is still a very beatable defense, as you talked about, and so I still like Keenan Allen. I'm still just going Keenan Allen as your 8 to 12 target guy.
The big thing in this game that concerns me is pressure. I'm not sure if they can handle Daniil Hunter and Everson Griffin, and I don't think Rivers is going to have time to really take those shots to Henry and Mike Williams downfield. But Keenan Allen working more underneath areas of the field, I think he'll have a good, big game.
We have a Miles Sanders question. This comes from Franco Javier. Pick one, Miles Sanders or Phillip Lindsay in half-point PPR. Phillip Lindsay, we expected him to, because the Chiefs' run defense has been awful. Snow factor. Phillip Lindsay has played in the snow before.
Yep.
But game script is kind of impossible to predict right now in some ways.
It's close. I would have said Miles before last week. I mean, he was playing 85% snaps, true workhorse, but now Boston Scott was pretty involved. I know Miles was a little bit banged up, but Scott was good enough that I think we're going to continue to see him at least at a 40%-ish range. But I lean Lindsay, I think. I think the matchup is just better, and we have seen him more consistently get that type of usage we're looking for.
Yeah, I have questions about how many touches Boston Scott gets, but he has done enough and performed well enough recently to at least take some away from Sanders. So I think Lindsey's the easy, just touch-based selection here.
Lozo 85. Odell Beckham or Melvin Gordon for flex. Half-point PPR. First, Lozo, congratulations for getting here with Odell Beckham and Melvin Gordon on your roster.
Yeah.
Good job by you.
That's more than a lot of people could say with Odell Beckham.
Look, Odell Beckham every single week. We just say, man, the potential's there. Like the air yards are there. Like
there again this
it's
week,
so close for him to hit it big. And then every week we say the exact same thing the next week. So like we're saying it again today.
It has to be the sports hernia, right? Like that's what it probably is.
Well, on Baker Mayfield's arm.
That's true as well, and the offensive line. I'm going Melvin Gordon for the touches, anyways.
Yeah, it's Melvin. I mean, since they fired Ken Wisenhunt, Melvin's averaging 21.2 combined carries and targets. I know a lot of it's been on the ground, so you're not getting the full point per reception a lot of times as much as Eckler, but you still got to go Melvin.
South Click, 10-point bonus if a quarterback gets over 300 yards. So he asks, Ryan Tannehill or Russell Wilson?
It's still Tannehill for me.
I think it's Tannehill. I think the Seahawks just going to run the ball again.
Well, I mean, you look at the total, and I think that's important here,
Yeah.
right? Because the total in the Texans-Titans game is 50, right? And then you look at Carolina and Seattle, and that's 48.5, so it's closer.
And then remember, Russell Wilson, it's now been a month straight, 4 games straight, since he's thrown for over 300 yards. And then 300 yards only once since week 3. So it's
Russ has been bad lately.
Yeah, the offense has been.
Fantasy-wise.
Because if they don't need to throw the ball, and
Right.
they do not need to throw the ball in this game, they will not.
Tannehill's got there 3 times, 7 starts. So.
Yeah.
There you go. Where else have we not gone? Raheem Mostert or James White? That's from Nate441. I think Raheem Mostert is the play.
It's impossible to predict this Patriots backfield week to week.
Yeah, this is a game that would spell Sony Michel running the ball 20 times, but even that may not lead to success. Either way, I imagine they don't need James White. So it's just fine. You have to go the other guy.
YY Brett, pick one in full point PPR, D.D. Westbrook or DK Metcalf. I think you go D.D. there.
Yeah, especially because Metcalf's probably going to be tracked by James Bradbury, not an ideal matchup. And yeah, I mean, everyone's talking about Chris Conley, Keelan Cole. I feel like probably a little more DFS reasons behind that. But D.D. is that #1 receiver in the offense without DJ Chark there.
We got 2 people in grabber TDs and Chupones, Tyler Higbee or Jared Cook. I'm leaving out half of these names. It's some self-editing.
That was a good one.
On the fly.
That's why you're in that chair.
Tyler Higbee or Jared Cook. We already answered that because I had the same conundrum, and I'm going Tyler Higbee for the certainty. Just for the certainty.
Love Tyler Higbee this week.
Okay, Darren Waller or Tyler Higbee?
I'd still go Higbee.
I would go Waller. Waller, to me, is due for positive touchdown regression, and the sneaky injury wasn't Hunter Renfrow. Because remember, Waller's seen over 7 targets per game without Hunter Renfrow. The one is Foster Moreau, because without Moreau now, Moreau had 5 touchdowns this year. Without him, they have to put Darren Waller in on red zone packages. So I do like Waller a lot today.
I'm actually changing. It's Waller. And also, you brought up those linebacker injuries as a problem in the run game. Also not great for covering tight ends.
It's a mess for Jacksonville right now.
Let's close out the core 4 matchups with the Buffalo Bills at the Pittsburgh Steelers. I had to double check the math here, but I believe this total was only 36.5.
It got bet down from 40, yes. It has since sunk, yes.
So let's talk about the offenses. I laughed at my own joke. This is also Sunday Night Football. 8.5, 8-5, excuse me, the Steelers are. 9-4 Buffalo Bills. I mean, these are 2 really good defenses. And we look at Josh Allen and the Bills. He's been mostly good this season fantasy-wise because of that rushing floor that he offers. But Ian, when I look at this matchup, I see one that could be dreadful, one that could be terrifying for Josh Allen, because I could just see the secondary baiting him into throws that he doesn't want to make. So again, in this 1-game season that we're playing this week, how do you feel about starting Josh Allen today?
I probably got 10 other quarterbacks ahead of him. I'd still start over guys like Tom Brady and these, statues in the pocket that aren't really giving you any of the rushing upside. But, man, it's tough. The Steelers defense is just so good at all 3 levels now. I mean, we talk about how good Minkah Fitzpatrick is and all that, but just, the things how much faster they've gotten a middle linebacker now with Devin Bush out there, and then also just the secondary with all 3 of those pieces playing well. really no weaknesses. And yeah, I'm not sure I can trust Josh to play a perfect game.
So Daigle, basically what I've taken from this entire show is if you can stand it, don't play any Buffalo Bills today.
Yeah, it's just not really a great spot. I mean, the one piece of evidence we have that he has been in this matchup before was that Ravens game, and in the Ravens game he threw for 145 yards.
Right.
Just not even his rushing ability. It's hard to bank on in what is arguably the toughest defense to play
right now.
So it's not a situation I want to be in. And more to the point, if you have him, remember he plays the Patriots next week.
Yeah.
So you probably just want to drop him if you can right now for streaming options if you're not using him today.
I found this interesting real quick. Steelers have allowed the 6th fewest rushing yards to quarterbacks this season, even though they faced Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray. So they're good at stopping scramblers.
Steelers are getting back one important piece of their offense. That's in James Conner. So Daigle, we don't like to play skill position players coming back from multi-week injuries, but James Conner could be in line for at least 15 touches in this game.
I wrote the blurb, I think it was like at 2 in the morning the news came out, that
Humble
said, no, I was only going to mention it because I even put in the blurb, like, this is a guy that in his last full game we saw in week 8, 26 touches, 83% of the snaps. But then this morning it came out, which was only like 4 hours later, it came out that apparently he's going to split time with Benny Snell for whatever reason and Jalen Samuels.
Lovely.
So I don't know what to do anymore. He was a usage-based RB2 with arguably RB1 upside, but now I think it's more like RB2, 3.
If you had to take a shot on one Pittsburgh Steelers skill position player to play, who would it be?
It's Connor.
Probably Connor, but I want to say James Washington. The whole offense,
Why,
again, just avoid everyone here.
Why Washington over Deontay Johnson? I'm just curious.
Just a bigger plays. They've kind of been switching, but Deontay's kind of more just been their underneath guy.
The only reason I would go Johnson over Washington, like Washington's the big play guy, like he has to average 2 DPIs per game. Like it's every single game
He's getting the slot matchup away from Trey White.
Did they go hunting this week?
I'm not sure. I need to look
Okay,
into that.
well,
but Deontay Johnson.
did more research.
Deontay Johnson has led in air yards and targets, and Devlin Hodges' 3 starts.
While the total might be low, this is going to be a really fun game to watch because it's 2 great defenses and then one playmaker at quarterback, and hopefully he can make some plays on his own. All right, let's talk about the Sunday Night 7. Join the fun with us with the all-new Sunday Night 7 game on the NBC Sports Predictor app. It's free and easy to play. Just make 7 simple predictions about what will happen in Sunday Night Football for your chance at the $2 million prize and guaranteed cash prizes this season. $100,000 up for grabs in each contest. That means tonight, $100K is up for grabs. What would I do with
Entirely
$100,000?
guaranteed is what they told me to italic.
Entirely guaranteed. So
Entirely guaranteed.
So a lot of money is on the line tonight. Okay, Doors 27. Jameis Winston or Deshaun Watson or Ryan Tannehill. That mentions a lot of names at that quarterback position, and one of them will win Doors 27 their week. Daigle, who are you going with?
Ryan Tannehill.
What?
What was the other option?
Deshaun Watson and Jameis Winston.
Oh, yeah, Deshaun Watson.
Okay. That was a little peek behind the curtain.
I didn't know. I didn't hear the first one.
That was a little peek
So
behind the
confident.
curtain where Daigle obviously was not listening to me.
I was yelling
and so he
about
just
the Sunday
said
Night 7.
he just said the last name that I said.
Well, I heard Ryan Tannehill, and it's like, I'm going to start Ryan Tannehill unless somebody asked a question about these other 2 guys, and one of them just happened to be up there.
That's great.
Yes, you're starting Deshaun Watson. Do not worry about Deshaun Watson whatsoever.
Greg Game, Devin Singletary or Sony Michel in standard?
Sony Michel, Devin Singletary has 3 carries inside the 10-yard line this season. Josh Allen and Frank Gore have 23. They do not give him the ball when they get near the goal line. He's good. He gets the snaps, but he doesn't get scoring chances.
JoJo Boy, Tom Brady or Jared Goff? Please and thanks. Jared Goff.
Jared Goff.
Jared
Jared
Goff.
Goff. It's just another good matchup. We will have questions about Jared Goff whenever he plays a tougher defense. This is not one of them.
This is not one of them. Cold Cut with 2 Ks. That's amazing. Jared Goff, Ryan Fitzpatrick or Drew Lock? Jared Goff.
Jared Goff.
Jared
I do like Ryan Fitzpatrick today too, but Jared Goff.
Smooth 0821. Raheem Mostert or Devontae Freeman? I'm surprised so many people are nervous about playing Raheem Mostert today. I think it's a smash spot for him.
And we've had Shanahan come out and say like they wanted to use a committee, but Mostert's playing so well that he's earned the right to be their lead back. Yeah, it's Mostert.
It's definitely Mostert.
From the newsroom, not from the newsroom, from the control room, excuse me. Cortland Sutton or Chris Conley? Cortland Sutton.
Cortland Sutton.
Easily.
I do like Chris Conley to soak up the targets left behind by DJ Shark, but it is Cortland Sutton.
Lull Chamber, pick just one. Important. A.J. Brown, Debo Samuel, Michael Gallup.
I'm going Gallup.
I'm going AJ Brown.
Wow.
think it's more volume.
I think Gallup brings the
matchup.
volume and the big play upside
Yeah, I'm not saying
that
A.J. Brown's safer.
does as well.
Like I said,
You just want to ride or die.
I want to
with them.
die with my crew. I want to die with my team.
A couple more. Eckler as my flex, even if I have Gordon as my running back too. Well, I would start Eckler over Melvin Gordon, but is starting both in this matchup against the Vikings advisable?
Well, who's the other option? I mean,
We don't know.
I think they're fine. They both worked as RB2s pretty consistently. They're used kind of differently in the offense. I wish so much every night before I go to bed that Andre Patton would just leave the Chargers so Eckler could actually play a full-time role, but they're getting enough touches.
Well, wait
anyway.
till the offseason because both Gordon and Eckler are free agents. It's going to be a big discussion this offseason. But for right now, you can continue playing both.
From Call Me, Melvin Gordon or Julio Jones in standard. Thanks in advance.
What do we do with Julio Jones?
So do you
I mean,
play
you
the
have to-
volume in Melvin Gordon?
Maybe you move Julio from your wide receiver spot to your flex spot to try to provide a spark, but he stays in the starting lineup always.
It is interesting they're missing Richard Sherman. The Niners are missing 6 starting defenders, but does it really matter? Because I worry, my concern for that game and the Falcons offense as a whole is that Calvin Ridley's absence doesn't lead to like direct opportunity for somebody. It just tanks the offense as a whole, everyone down. I'm just taking the touches with Gordon.
All right, let's close it out with a big one. True, no got to. John Brown or Sterling Shepard. Sterling Shepard's attached to Eli Manning. John Brown's attached to Josh Allen against this Pittsburgh defense. We're going to win True Nagatu, the semifinal.
You have a John Brown stat you said like 20 minutes ago?
Yeah, he's had under 40 yards in 3 straight games, but
Yeah.
Josh wants to ignore 20 touches from Patrick Laird. I'm gonna sit Smokey and go with Shepard. I think the target projection is similar. The matchup's a million times better.
Yeah, I'm going Shepard as well. I know it didn't work out last week. It was all Slayton. But remember, Slayton did that literally in 1 quarter and then disappeared, which is why I would be concerned starting Slayton if I have to. John Brown is a talent-based wide receiver 3. Like, he absolutely can perform and buck any negative trends, but you have to go Shepard. Like, it's so hard to start John Brown.
Ian, who's the chopper prop today?
Kyler Murray,
Oh.
300 total yards and 4 total touchdowns.
You want to know the tank prop today?
Let's hear it.
John Brown, 75 yards and a touchdown.
Ooh, okay.
Did you tweet it?
Battle out.
Doesn't
No, I'm
count
just
if-
making it up right
doesn't
now.
count if you don't
Since
tweet
he's
it at
calling me
midnight.
out so much. Gentlemen, thanks. We appreciate you. And everyone
You
out
wouldn't
there.
be a tank prop anyways. What would your prop be?
Gentlemen out there and
soccer
ladies,
ball.
thank you for
Soccer
tuning
ball,
in
yeah.
to Rotoworld Live. We'll be back next
Tennis
week,
racket.
but not on Sunday. No, we'll be back on Saturday because there are 3 games on Saturday that are pivotal, have really important fantasy pieces.
wine bottle.
So go and set a notification, a reminder for twitch.tv/Rotoworld again next Saturday, noon Eastern, so you can talk to the lovely Ian Harditz, the lovely John Daigle,
be
and
here.
me, Josh Norris. And go and subscribe to the Rotoworld Football Podcast right now. We'll have a morning recap episode for you on the way during your commute. So for everyone in the control room, for these 2 fools, I'm Josh Norris. Talk to you all soon. Good luck today, everyone.